Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet our session of Corporate Career Academy, a discussion with experts exploring the areas of specialization, looking at careers in general and supporting students and young professionals to be able to easily join the corporate world, learn from corporate leaders, and improve their performance in the corporate world. In today's session, we are privileged to have a great speaker, our first international CEO to speak to students, especially those interested to pursue insurance and risk management. Insurance is not for those who have done insurance only. As Dr. Suresh will be explaining to us, he also didn't do insurance initially, but he has been able to come up and learn about those courses, and now he's an insurance expert. The doctor joins us from Tanzania. Is the CEO in the insurance company in Tanzania. He'll be able to mention the name of the insurance company. He's very passionate about supporting young professionals. He does coaching for students, and that's how we met so easily to discuss about students. Us in here at Corporate Career Academy, our work is to ensure that we support students, young professionals, to be able to understand and make informed decisions as far as career is concerned. Thank you very much for joining us from wherever you are joining us in this call. We are live here and we'll wish to answer your questions. Type on the chat any questions you may have for Dr. Suresh. He'll be able to answer them. I'll start by giving him an opportunity to just tell us who he is. He'll also give us the global perspective about insurance. He'll also focus on insurance in Tanzania, what's happening in Tanzania, and what are the opportunities in Tanzania. He has also worked in 7 different global countries, including Kenya, where he has worked with Jubilee Insurance, as he mentioned. He'll also be able to give us a perspective and tell us where is this profession from his eye, having been in the insurance industry for all this time. So, Daktari, welcome to the session. And today we are discussing with enthusiasts of insurance, those who are interested to pursue insurance and risk, and all the professions involved in insurance and risk management. Welcome and speak to us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Makori. It's indeed a pleasure to talk to all of you. As it was pointed out, my name is Suresh Kumar. I am currently based in Tanzania. I work with an insurance company called Meticulous General Insurance Company Limited. I am the CEO there. And of course, I've had a long innings in insurance for the past now nearly 3 decades. And I also had the privilege of working in different countries, including many countries in Africa. I worked earlier in Tanzania, then I worked in Kenya, worked in Uganda, worked in Namibia, and also helped started companies in insurance companies in places like Rwanda, Namibia, and other places. So I've had a very vast experience. I was also a broker. I've not only been an underwriter, I've been a broker. I used to work with Aon. Now it's called Minet. So I used to be the Chief Operating Officer of Aon in Uganda. Then I got transferred as the Executive Vice President of Aon India. So this is my very brief career part of it. In terms of my qualifications, I've done my master's in business administration in strategic management. Then, of course, in terms of professional qualifications, I am a fellow of the Insurance Institute of India, also a chartered marketer, being a fellow of the Chartered Insurance Institute of Marketing. I also have a certificate. I'm a certified risk management professional. Besides, of course, as a passion, as an interest, I had done my Ph.D. in psychology. So nothing to do with insurance, but then I had a passion to learn about the human mind as to why the curiosity which we display in terms of learning. So that's what took me to learn psychology. So I got a master's in that. Coming back to the various the insurance scenario in Tanzania and East Africa in general, what we need to understand is that the markets in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and of course Rwanda and Burundi to a small extent is totally quite different. Kenya is far ahead of all these countries. There was a time when if you could add up the premiums, the gross written premiums of the companies, if let's say top three, four companies in Kenya, that used to be the entire market premium of Tanzania in the past. But things are rapidly changing. Tanzania is writing a lot of new business. And because of the initiatives which the government has taken, there's a number of infrastructural activities which are going on in the country, including laying of a standard gauge railway from Dar es Salaam all the way up to Dodoma, where the capital is entirely shifted into Dodoma. So currently, if you have to go to Dodoma, you spend over 7, 8 hours, or at least 5, 6 hours, if not in 7, 8 hours, by driving down to Dodoma. Or other alternative is to take a flight, which is obviously quite expensive. The way people anticipate is that once the standard gauge railway comes up, you can take a train in the morning. Let's say you start off in the morning at 6 o'clock, you reach Dodoma by 9:30. Finish off your work at the government over there, and catch the train back in the 6 o'clock, and you're back in Dar es Salaam. So the activity between, Dar es Salaam is already anyway, it's grown, it's a full-fledged city. Dodoma will also grow. And in between, there is a town called Morogoro between Dodoma and Dar es Salaam. Morogoro is also destined to grow. So there's going to be a huge development across the country. We have also invested in a huge hydel power, wherein power would become very, very cheap as well as available in plenty. Which obviously, when there is power, there would be more industries coming in. Industries would be able to manufacture much better things. So things are really looking up in Tanzania. My personal estimation is that in the next 5 years, the country would be booming. And obviously, insurance being a sort of a rider on the economy, insurance will also boom. So insurance companies, the current insurance companies which are operating in Tanzania, we have about 26 general insurance companies and about seven life and the medical companies, totally coming to about 32 companies. All these companies are supposed to do big business in Tanzania. Now the point comes up is that are do we have enough people to run these companies? Do we have enough professionals to run these companies? Or do we still depend upon foreign nationals or expatriates to run these companies? Now, this is where I really would like to focus upon to say that, no, what are the skill sets which are required to become an insurance professional? First, let me address this question in terms of in two parts. Number one is the general part of being for an employee, any professional. What are the skill sets which are required? Obviously, all of you know in terms of the education, the basic education is required, attitude, the skill to learn, the hunger to learn. All these things are, these are the soft skills which are definitely required in any organization, not just for insurance companies alone. So unless you really have an attitude, the right attitude in terms of the learning things, you need a hunger to learn new things, what's happening in the world. All these things are a very essential skills for anybody. But when we come to specifically for insurance, being an insurance professional, now let's examine which are the skills which would be required for some of these professions, some of the major disciplines in insurance. I will like to classify this into about, let's say, 3 to 4 areas. Number one would be being an underwriter. Number two would be being a risk management professional within insurance industry. Number three would be a claims handler or a claims management professional. The fourth one would be the finance person in an insurance industry. Let's take the first one, being an underwriter. What are the skill set would we require to be a good professional underwriter? Who's an underwriter? Underwriter is somebody who's able to assess the risk and then come out with a proper premium rating so that the insurance company is able to write the particular risk at a particular price, which would become profitable for it in the long run. This is the basic function of being an underwriter. Now, underwriting is dependent on your understanding of the risk, Then, of course, you also need to understand the kind of exposure each risk has got, and then you need to rate it. Now, rating part of it, generally the underwriters are also assisted by the actuaries who normally do a lot of calculation based on the statistical inputs which are available in terms of the loss ratios of this particular company, loss ratios in particular to the industry as such. All the historical loss ratios are taken and then they arrive at a particular rate which would be more viable for them to charge to the particular risk. So, as an underwriter, number one qualification which you would require is that you need to understand what insurance is, for which means that you need to have a basic degree in insurance, even if you do not have a basic degree in insurance, because there are many professionals who can also be, who would also be in fantastic underwriters in, even if you are not studied insurance. For instance, if you take you're an engineer, you would be a very good underwriter, especially in terms of, when we come to the second category of risk management, we will discuss it more. You could be an accountant. You could be a doctor. Even if you're a doctor, if you're doing a medical insurance, for instance, you'll be a very good underwriter. You can put on that underwriting hat even of being a doctor, medical professional. So having a basic degree in insurance and risk management is preferable, but not really necessary to be an underwriter. But what is important is that you need to acquire a professional qualification. I mean, this goes for not just for the underwriting aspect, even if you're a claims manager, for any profession which you would like to take up in insurance, my strong recommendation is that please go in for a professional qualification. What is a professional call? Because academic qualifications, if you do your degree in insurance, it gives you the academic degree about insurance. But it does not necessarily make you an insurance professional. You can become an insurance practitioner, but not necessarily a insurance professional. To be an insurance professional, you need to have a professional qualification, which is offered by the institutes like the Chartered Insurance Institute in England, the Indian Insurance Institute of India in India, the Insurance Institute of South Africa, Insurance Institute of Kenya, Insurance Institute of New Zealand, Australia, and New Zealand. These are the very common qualifications or professional institutes which offer professional qualifications in this part of the world. So it is extremely essential and important that as soon as you start your career, that you start your journey to become a professional. College of Insurance in Kenya, for instance, it offers a number of diplomas and advanced diplomas right from your certificate, COP, certificate insurance, then you go on to diploma and then do your advanced diploma in insurance, which makes you a professional. And if you have an advanced diploma in insurance from College of Insurance in Kenya, you also get exemptions from many of the majority of the papers from the Chartered Insurance Institute, which means you can have an advanced diploma in from College of Insurance in Kenya. At the same time, you also become a ACII, Associate of the Chartered Insurance Institute. So it becomes you get a double degree or double professional qualifications with such kind of disciplines. So it's very, very important that you do your professional qualifications very early in your career. Because what happens is that very often when you start your career and then you ignore this particular aspect, then you grow in your career and then you realize that no, then your personal commitments grow, you become a family man, your children come up and the profession then priority is given for the children's education. Sometimes there is a possibility that these things take a back step. So it's very important that you need to become a professionally qualified person, whether you take up your career in the underwriting, risk management, finance, or claims management. So having said that, having established the ground rule that you need to become a professional as early as possible, now let's go back into the underwriting skills which are required. Being an insurance underwriter is one of the very, very exciting roles in an insurance company. Why do I say that? Because as an underwriter, you have such wide variety of opportunities to learn wide variety of skills. If for in what is if you are let us assume that you are writing a underwriting a proposal for a plastic industry. Do you really understand as to how does a plastic industry work? Do you really understand as to what are the various risk exposures? What are the hazard points which a plastic industry has got, which you need to really arrive at your rating? And from a plastic industry, let's go on to move to a, let's say if you want to underwrite a cashew nut processing industry. What are the various hazard points in the cashew nut industry? Do you really understand as to what kind of a process does the cashew industry use? Or what kind of a process does the plastic industry use, or a foam industry, or an engineering goods industry, or a hydropower? So it's really such an exciting field that no a single day is the same as the previous one for an underwriter. An underwriter needs to understand majority of this exposures. I mean, you don't have to really be a risk manager or a risk management professional in terms of an plastic industry, but you really need to have a general knowledge as to how a particular industry operates and also what are the various hazards which a particular industry is exposed to. For instance, in a foam industry, those who are seasoned underwriters who have written foam industries will know that the single most exposure a foam industry has got is when the foam bed, the mattresses is drying. The igniting point at the time is so high that many fire losses happen around that time. So if you're an underwriter, you need to understand that and then accordingly rate to say that okay, fine, this particular rate is important. Now, the second aspect which you really need to understand as an underwriter is that no, apart from the rate is only a part of your underwriting. Whether you charge 0.1% or somebody else charges 0.5% is quite irrelevant when a total loss of an industry happens. If assuming that an industry's total sum insured is let's say 5 billion shillings and you charge one underwriter charges it at 0.1% and then charges let's say 10 million shillings and somebody else charges at 0.5% and charges 50 million shillings. Your 10 million or your 50 million has got no meaning when the loss takes place, which is going to be in billions of shillings. So what is important for an underwriter to understand is that, okay, fine, you need to understand, you need to rate it properly. You need to put terms and conditions for the particular industry to say that this particular industry need to have firefighting equipment should be there. It should have a better risk management professional in terms of the cleanup part of it has to be nice. There's warranties and conditions you need to put in the right manner so that the industry is able to, in case when a loss happens, when the industry is able to implement these warranties and conditions, to say, for example, if you say that you need to have fire extinguishers properly serviced in particular industry, a certain number of, depending upon the total number of the area of the particular industry, you need to have so many fire extinguishers to be put across the right type of fire extinguishers. Even when a loss takes place, and if the people are trained, and the other warranty will be there would be a regular fire drill conducted, and people would be trained in using those fire extinguishers. If these two warranties are implemented by the company, the industry, then what will happen is that even when a small fire starts, the employees are able to pick up the fire extinguisher and use it and minimize the kind of a loss. So, in terms of when the proper warranties are followed by the industries, it will help in reducing the losses for the industry and also reducing the losses for the insurance company. Because mind you, no insurance and no industry would like to have a loss. What the insurance company would pay for the losses is only part of the entire claim. The kind of a damage they suffered in terms of market loss, reputation loss, and all this is huge. So no industry, no well-running industry would like to have a loss. So it is the duty of the underwriters to recommend measures in association with the risk management team so that the losses are minimized in an industry. So these are the basic things which, as an underwriter, you need to really understand. You need to understand if you're writing a motor vehicle, you need to understand as to where does the motor vehicle is running, where does it go to, I mean, where does it get regularly serviced, where is it parked during the night, who are the people who are driving the motor vehicle. So it's not that, when you are asking for a typically, if you are asked to do a motor vehicle insurance thing, the two questions which many normally people ask is that do you need a third party or a comprehensive? Is it a private vehicle or a commercial vehicle? In a good professional underwriter would ask much more questions than just these two basic questions. So it's important that these are the skills and the analytical skills you develop in terms of, to understand as to where does a loss can happen for a particular risk, whether it's a motor vehicle or an engineering workshop or a textile unit or a residential house. Now let's go to quickly to the next profession which we talked about in terms of a risk management profession in an insurance industry. In this part of it, in this as a risk manager, I would like to cover areas like who would be the risk inspector, as well as in terms of a loss management part of it, loss adjusters and other things. Ideally speaking, a risk manager most likely would be an engineer because an engineering degree would help you to be a much better risk management professional than a non-engineering graduate. Of course, there are other graduations like, if you are a qualified accountant, that also would help you to become a good risk manager. But that's only in terms of your own, the financial aspect of it. So if you are going to be a risk management professional, again, you need to have the basic engineering or a technical degree, automobile engineering, or a civil engineering, or mechanical engineering, or electrical engineering. Besides, as what we discussed, a qualification in terms of from a professional institute. So with these two degrees, it's easy for you to now go ahead and become a good risk manager. Why do you need to do a risk inspection, or why do you need risk managers in insurance industry? You essentially need a risk managers in insurance industry to understand what the risk is about. As an underwriter, he sits in the office, may not be able to visit the site to look at the risk inspection, the risk part of it. The underwriter relies on a risk inspector to say that, okay, fine. A risk inspector goes to the site to say that, okay, number one, what kind of a location the risk is situated in. So obviously, which you need to understand as to what kind of exposures the particular risk has got with the neighborhood. All those things, you really need to understand. You need to understand what kind of a buildings, what kind of a walls, what kind of a civil structure does the insurance property, the insurance risk which is being proposed has got. So all these things are important for, as a risk engineer, you need to understand not just your basic discipline of your electrical or mechanical or automobile engineering, but much wider. For instance, if in a textile factory, if it's a blow dryer is there, how do you really prevent a fire which is started in the blow dryer drying area spreading across to the warehouse? Because in a blow dryer, what happens is that the insurance is there, the whole thing is connected. The fire can go through the chutes and then can spread across. So how do you really advise your client as to how do you have a perfect party wall which can separate the entire the blow drying process or the blow area from the other warehouse or other areas. So as a risk management professional, even in terms of a loss adjusting, if you want to become a very good professional loss adjuster, which is also a very growing field, which I would encourage a lot of the youngsters, especially with your engineering or technical background, to take it up, because having a good loss adjusters is a very important factor for any insurance company, because an insurance company depends upon the loss adjusters to report back as to how a particular loss occurred. An insurance company depends on the risk management professional, the risk inspectors or risk managers to report back as to how does a particular industry is functioning, What kind of a housekeeping do they have? Are the fire extinguishers serviced regularly? Does the fire hydrants have enough water? Does it have an alternative pump? Does the water reservoir hold enough water for the fire hydrants to work? All these important factors are important, which the insurance company would rely on the risk inspector. So to be a the second profession which I'm talking about is being a risk inspector or a risk manager, apart from being a loss adjuster. A loss adjuster should be able to understand the policy, interpret the policy, because loss adjusters, though they are appointed by the insurance company, they are independent entities. They do not report to the insurance company, they do not report to the insured. They are an independent professionals who have been appointed by the insurance industry to go and check as to how did the loss arise, what has been the cause of loss, what has been the extent of loss, what are the extent of damage, what has been the financial quantification of the damages which have taken place, was there any breach of any warranty or conditions. Now these are the things which the report, loss adjusters report, would talk about. Loss adjusters report does not recommend a claim. It only recommends what has been the loss. It recommends whether the loss falls within the policy condition or not, or has there been a breach of any warranty or a condition. And then the final decision as to whether the loss is payable or not is always given to the underwriter or the insurance company, which will take a decision based on the business relationship, based on the policy conditions and the loss adjuster's report. Now let's look at the third profession, which is quite popular in terms of the insurance industry, is being a claims adjuster or a claims manager in the claims department. A loss, and I'm not talking of a loss adjuster. This is a claims adjuster. Loss adjusters is an external person, not employed by the insurance company, but claims adjusters are always employed. Normally, are employed by the insurance companies. Now, how do you really assess what are the skills which you require to be a good claims adjuster? One of the fundamental skills required is to have empathy. If you are a claims adjuster, you need to really understand as to what is the circumstances which has really caused that particular loss, and put yourself into the same shoes as the insured and say that had I been in this position, what steps could I have taken to minimize the loss or prevent the loss? Have I taken those steps? Because it is very easy to for a loss adjuster to implement the policy conditions in as black and white without really understanding the empathy part of it. Let me share an example with you. Suppose let's assume that you are driving your vehicle in the middle of the night. You're returning either from the airport after a late night flight, and you are driving, and you come to a particular part of the town wherein it's quite isolated. There's nobody on the roads, and suddenly your car stops due to some fault with the engine. Now, you park the car, you go ahead, go home, take a taxi or try to call for an Uber or something, and then you go home. Next day morning, you go to the place to take your car. You find that the car has been vandalized, or even if it is stolen. You report to the insurance company, and the claims adjuster says that as per the policy conditions, you are required to be as if you are uninsured. You should have taken enough precautions to see that the car is properly protected and put it in a place where it could have been, this loss could have been prevented. Now, unless you are in the same position as the person as the insured was the previous night, it is very difficult. You can always put in conditions and warranties to say that deny a claim, saying that you did not comply with the requirements of the policy conditions. So you should always be a little empathetic to say that what led to that particular claim, or led to the particular insured to behave in that particular manner, which could have possibly triggered the claim. So empathy is one of the basic factors which you need to understand. The second skills which you really need to have a good claims adjuster is to really understand the particular nature of the claim. If you are a motor claims adjuster, You really need to know what kind of parts are the major components of a motor vehicle. What kind of a windscreen does a Toyota Harrier have compared to a windscreen which a Mercedes Benz could have? Now, these are the market skills. One, what is the price for such things? What, what would be the price for a brand new Mercedes windscreen compared to a windscreen for a used Mercedes? Now, these are the skills which have to be learned in terms of the market. You need to interact with the loss adjusters, you need to interact with the spare part dealers so that you are able to understand those differences between different parts of the motor vehicle. Even you also need to really understand sometimes what happens is that when a client or an insured lodges a particular claim for a thing which is not really relevant, it does not necessarily cause the loss, and then the insured also tries to claim for it. Because basically, you really need to understand there is a difference between a claim and a loss. A claim is different from a loss. All losses are not claims, while all claims are losses. Meaning, you may have a loss. Let's assume that you are driving your car and then you are required to maintain the car in a particular manner. You need to change the oil, you change the brake linings, you need to service it. If you don't do these things, eventually what will happen is that the engine will seize and the vehicle will stop moving. That is a loss. But is it a claim? It is not a claim because the loss happened due to your own negligence because you did not service the vehicle properly and then a loss had taken place. Whereas a claim is when you are driving your car, you have been maintaining the car properly, you are driving the car, but due to either a misjudgment of the speed and things like that, or because of any other external reasons, you go and hit a tree or another car, another wall or anything, and you suffer a loss. That particular loss is a claim because it most likely it would fall under the policy conditions, so which would make it become an admissible claim. So, as a loss adjuster, as a claims adjuster, you need to really understand the difference between a loss and a claim. Now, we come to another aspect of profession in the insurance industry, which is in the finance area. In finance, insurance accounting is totally different from a regular accounting. Because in insurance, what happens is that the premium which we collect today is not cannot be considered as your income because you are on cover for the premium for the next 364 days. So your income is you earn the income on a proportionate manner. If the after 1 month you earn only 30% of the premium which you have collected. So you cannot say that unlike in other trade or other industries wherein if you have sold something, you would realize 100% of the profit or the revenue you recognize it. Whereas in insurance industry, it is slightly different because you recognize the revenue based on the number of days that particular policy has run without any losses. So it is important that as an accountant, you learn a different skill compared to any other accounting part of it. The accounting in insurance is totally different. Similarly, in terms of reinsurance, there is also something called a reinsurance, where the reinsurance accounting is entirely different because the premium which you collect 100% is not entirely your premium. You still need to cede premium to your reinsurer. Similarly, you need to take claims from your reinsurer. All these adjustments have to be done. So it's important that you need to understand accounting in a different manner compared to any other industry. Of course, there are also things like that, as an accountant, as an accounts professional in insurance company, you also need to understand as to how do you invest the money which you have collected. Because for an insurance company, apart from the underwriting profit, one of the major streams of profit comes from investment income. Every single shilling which an insurance company collects, apart from meeting their expenses, the management expenses and the claims, the rest of the surplus funds are always invested. So you need to really understand the money market. You need to understand the bank interest rates which are being charged. You need to understand what kind of treasury bills rates are which is being given out. So all these things are very, very important factor for you to understand or build up as a skill as a being an insurance professional. So merely having a degree in accounting or being a CPA, CPA-K or CPA-T is not sufficient. You really need to understand further skills which will make you become a better accounting professional or a finance professional in the insurance industry. One more area which I would like to talk before I close this particular session, or at least my part of the talk, is that to be a marketer. Now, marketing is a very fundamental skill which personally I feel that every person, whether you are an underwriter, whether you are a claims professional, whether you are a risk manager or an accounting profession, you should be a marketer first. Because you really need to understand as to what kind of policies have to be sold to a client, or what kind of problems do you really face from when you go and visit a broker or a client or a insured. So, and how do you really convince your client to take up an insurance policy? I always believed that if you are a successful insurance salesperson, you'll be the most successful salesperson in any field, because selling insurance is one of the most toughest jobs in the world. Globally, there is no other more tougher job than selling insurance. Because what are you selling to a client? You are just selling a piece of paper and a promise. The loss may happen, may not happen. But then to convince somebody to part with their hard earned money for a protection which they may not require also during the year if there are no loss taking place or there's no claim during the year. Very often clients feel that, oh, I've wasted my money. So to convince them that it is not a waste of money, but it is a small price which you're paying for your protection, for your peace of mind, it takes a lot of skill. So for to be a marketer, you really need to be somebody who's a people's person. You need to enjoy meeting people. You need to enjoy talking well to the people. You need to have good communication skills. You need to be quite articulate in terms of explaining the various points of an insurance policy, where a claim can be admitted, where a claim cannot be admitted. All these things are require skills of being a very good communicator and being a good uh, person, a marketing person, what do you call an outgoing kind of a personality. So these are the skill sets, which really required in an insurance industry. Before I close my talk, I really would like to emphasize on two aspects of it. Number one, I repeat, you need to become a professional. If you, apart from your basic degree in whichever field you are having, please do consider becoming a professional qualified person from one of the insurance institutes which I had mentioned. That's number one. Number two, I think one of the biggest threats which you might want to consider in the future is in terms of how the technology is working. Artificial intelligence and technology part of it is really changing the way things are working in the insurance industry, including actuarial. I mean, I forgot to mention about another profession which is very important in terms of insurance industry is an actuary. And obviously, being a professional actuary is not an easy task. You need to pass a number of examinations, and you need to be extremely hardworking, and you need to be extremely intelligent in terms to pass a actuarial examination. But what is happening in the future is that in terms of technology coming up, in terms of AI, artificial intelligence is coming up, and artificial intelligence driven underwriting tool will be able to price a particular risk much faster, much better than a human being can. And claims adjustment can do AI based software can do claims adjustment much faster. It can do the accounting much faster. Obviously, risk inspection cannot be done by a AI tool where physically you really still need to go around and look around and do it. But I'm sure they will also come out with tools for that, so that the efficiency of a particular person is increased in terms of risk management part of it. So, the technology is going to be one of the biggest threats which you as an underwriter will have to face it in the future. But my personal feeling is that this technology can only assist you to be a better underwriter. It cannot replace you as an insurance professional in the time to come. So thank you very much for your attention you have paid. If you have any questions, please do ask. I'll be happy to answer. Thank you, Maguri.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much. It has been a good learning from you. That was great. Thank you very much. So I want to appreciate some few guys who have just joined us in this session so that we can also appreciate them. And as we respond to questions, if you have any question, feel free to type the question on the comment chat. We'll be able to answer them. We want to appreciate Boniface Okeyo, Jojo Miro, Mato Spock, Johnny Kinyanjui, Dominic from Kisii, Koila Kamau from Kirinyaga University, Leonard Otieno from Egerton. We have James Kariuki from Moi University. We have Doreen from Chuka. We have Simba TV. We have Dan from Egerton. Maureen from Chuka. We have Dan Kanotiam Odhiambo Egerton. We have Austin from the University of Nairobi. Sheila Jerichelimo from Chuka. We have Bran from Multimedia University, Bran Kibet. We have Anatoly Paul from Kirinyaga University. We have Ndereba from Kisii University, and a number of them who have just written to us. So few things that Dr. you have mentioned which are very key, especially for those who are interested to pursue a career. One is to note that you don't require only insurance degree to be in the insurance industry. Insurance industry is not all about selling. Those are some of the key things we need to take. There are several roles, including the loss adjuster, loss adjusting, claim adjusting, which require the professional technical professions, including doctors and medics. I also have a chance in the insurance industry because the industry is really changing. The other thing, Dr. you have mentioned, which I find very key, is the new technology. We are talking about artificial intelligence. How is it affecting the business we do? And how then do we come in to be able to get this? So these are some of the things we'll ask our students. Wherever there's an opportunity to learn, you can take time to learn them so that you become a better professional. So we'll also wish to take some few questions from those who have just asked, so that if you have any question, type it on the chat so that we can be able to help. So I'll start with a question from Doreen Nduleve. She asks, Daktari, can a person secure a job in your company without a professional certificate of insurance if he or she has a degree in risk management and insurance? I think, Doctor, you can answer this.
Yeah, Doreen, yes, it is possible. Many companies do take people without any professional qualification also, because as long as you have a basic degree in insurance and risk management, companies do take you as a possibly in the initial stages as a trainee or as an assistant underwriter or whatever the designations the company might have. And at least in our company, what we do is that we do select people straight from the college. We put them through a probation part of it, and then of course we always encourage all of them to become a professional as early as possible. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So there's another question from Matos Park. Matos Park is asking, please, could you help us know where exactly we can apply for those professional exams here in Kenya? I know you mentioned the College of Insurance, which is here in Nairobi. You could also maybe clarify further on the other qualifications and the other examining bodies for insurance professionals, maybe listing the different, depending on your qualification, if you are a finance person in insurance, and again, the need for even accounting professionals to have insurance background or insurance papers. You could also clarify that.
Thank you. I think, what is important is that what we need to understand is that the professional examinations, when I'm talking about professional examination, it is essentially from these established institutes which I mentioned to you, the Chartered Insurance Institute of UK, the Indian Insurance Institute of Insurance Institute of India, then of course the College of Insurance, then Insurance Institute of South Africa. Now these are the more popular institutes which are in this part of the world. I mean, if you do a web search just go to Google and type, any of these things, it will go to the website. You can apply, and each one has got obviously the costs varies depending upon which country you're applying from and which place. If it is a CII, for instance, Chartered Insurance Institute, it's quite expensive. But then you can go to College of Insurance website. You can apply over there, or you can go to the Insurance Institute of India's website. You can apply over there. South Africa, you can apply. Because all these companies, all these institutes, what they've done is that most of these exams, 99% of the exams are online. So even sitting in Nairobi or sitting in Nakuru, Mombasa, wherever you are, you can still apply for these exams which are being conducted either in Mumbai or in London or in South Africa. It's possible. So please do a Google search for the professional examinations from these institutes. And once you go to their website, they'll guide you. It will be very, very easy. And as I said, the cost is also, you can pay the cost by credit card. There's no limit right now. There's no boundaries at all now. Thank you.
Yeah, so Daktari, I have a question from Austin. Austin is asking, Daktari, what keeps you going as an insurance professional? Maybe you can
my
share
family.
Yeah.
No, jokes apart, no. I think, possibly one of the best decisions which I ever made was to become an insurance professional. One thing what we really need to understand between an insurer and, let's say we take two professions in the financial industry, which is a banker and an insurer. An insurer, in my personal view, contributes much more to the economy or much more to the society than even a banker does. How does it happen? A banker is a person, possibly, he lends you money. He lends you money, of course, for which, there's an interest is charged. There are collaterals are taken. No money is given out free of cost, isn't it? You go to a bank account, to open a bank account, you need to give so much of documentation. And to take a loan from a bank, you need to give possibly 1,000 documents and collaterals, so that based on that, the bank gives you a loan for which you pay continuously, you pay interest. You take the insurance company. Let's say you have taken a bank loan from from a bank, and you have started your factory, and you have insured the factory. Let's say there is a loss, a fire loss happens, and the factory is gutted. The bank would come after your blood to say that, no, please pay me my money, or I'm going to auction your assets. What does the insurer do? The insurer sends a loss adjuster, finds out how the loss has happened and all these things. He calculates he requests documentation from you. Once the documentation is available, he gives you the full claim as per the eligibility as a cash to you, saying that please restart your factory. That kind of a satisfaction which I have achieved over my 3 decades in insurance industry, wherein I have helped people to get back to their feet, get back to their professions, to put them back in the same position as they were, so that indirectly I feel that I have contributed to the well-being and employment of hundreds and thousands of people, because I was able to pay a claim to a industry, and the industry was able to start back employing the people back and produce revenue to the government as well as to the individual as well as to the other employees. So it's been that is what really makes me very happy to have continued in terms of the insurance professional.
Yes, thank you very much.
Do you need to take an insurance course after you? Yeah. Yes, I saw that. Yeah. Yeah, Abuna Peter. Yes. I think, both are two different things. Actuarial course is a different aspect of it. Actuarial course is totally different from being an insurance professional. Being an actuary, it helps you to understand and rate a risk, or, understand the statistical aspect of a particular operation of an insurance industry. But when you become an insurance professional, it really adds to your insurance actuarial qualification, because then you understand how does a professional insurer work, or how does a professional aspect of this particular insurance operation work, so that your actuarial qualification will be able to complement to that. If you're only an actuary, I mean, it's not a bad thing, but my recommendations, if you're in the insurance industry, you should become a professional, which will help you to appreciate a 360-degree view of insurance operation than actuarial, which is only possibly only a part view. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for that. There's a question here. Joel is saying an impactful session. Thank you very much. So, Dr. there's something I wanted you to mention. One of the questions people ask, there's a book written, See You at the Top. And most of the people see the CEO as the top of the profession. So a student seated in one of the universities in Kenya is asking himself, what do I need to become a CEO like Dr. Suresh?
Well, being a CEO is very easy. You need to have the right attitude. You need to work hard. You need to understand your business well. You need to understand your organization. More importantly, you should be a person who is growing your people. Because CEO's job is nothing but growing your people. And I feel my success has been because of my colleagues, and I have not really done anything miraculously. But the only thing is that what I've done is that I have really believed in the people who I work with. Every colleague of mine, I see that, how do I really help my colleague to grow? That has been the fundamental principle. If you become a good CEO, you really need to believe in your people. And basically, what I believe is that to be a good CEO, number one, when you're starting your career, please focus on understanding the entire operations of an insurance company. Even if you're an underwriter, do not restrict yourself to underwriting. Try to understand how the claims department works. Try to understand how the finance department is working. Go out with the marketing people to go out to meet a client, meet the brokers. What are the pressures which they are facing? What kind of challenges are they have it? So that it gives you a much wider exposure to the entire company's operation. Because when you're a CEO, you need to understand every aspect of the company. And those skills can be learned when you are starting your career. And second thing, do not lose an opportunity when in the company, let's say announcing a new project, they say we are starting a new software. I want volunteers. The CEO comes up and says, I want volunteers to become part of the project team. You should be the first person to raise your hand. Yes, I'm the person. I will be there in terms of taking up this assignment. Do not lose out any opportunity to take new assignments. Do not lose out an opportunity to take up a new operational area to work with. Let's say you are working in Nairobi, you have an opportunity to be transferred to Dar es Salaam or go to Mombasa. Do not think that, oh, now going to a new place. Do not take that. Take it as a challenge. And because these are the things which people look out for as a person, as to how enthusiastic you are in terms of taking up new challenges. How enthusiastic are you in terms of making sure that you do a very good job of what you're doing? Because if you are an underwriter, any paper which you present to me as a manager, I know that I have a confidence saying that, okay, if it has come from this particular person, it has been done well, you have researched it well, you have done everything properly. So these are the skills which you really need to build up over the years. And if you're able to do all these things in the right manner, I can assure you, you will be a CEO.
Wow,
Thank
thank
you.
you very much. That's quite encouraging. Now, finally, Dr. I want you to tell those who are the students who are in insurance, just give them some hope. Most of the people, there's a general misunderstanding. When you mention about insurance, people think about sales. They think sales is the only job in insurance. Can you give them some layer of hope? As there's not many of them. There are less than 100 in Kenya at any given year. Can you give them some hope?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, because as the economies are growing in Kenya, economy is growing in Tanzania, Uganda, all over the world, things are in a revival. Okay, unfortunately, because of the COVID, the entire world had to take a step backward. But with the renewed activities which are happening, you will find the economies will be growing tremendously. When the economy grows, insurance grows. When the insurance grows, opportunities in insurance companies grow. And like I pointed out, it's not just marketing alone. There are number of professions, number of departments in an insurance company which require active people who understand insurance. So I would strongly recommend that each one of you encourage your friends, your brothers, your sisters, and other people to encourage take up insurance part of it. There's no point in going and doing courses which do not have much of a future. There's no point in doing a regular, unless of course you are a very good in terms of understanding math and other things, where you think that you would like to become a scientist. That's a different thing, or you want to become a medical doctor. Insurance is one profession, as I mentioned earlier. Even if you're a veterinary doctor, is there a chance for insurance industry? Yes, there is, because there are many companies who are doing livestock insurance. There are many companies which are doing poultry insurance. You need a veterinary doctor for that. If you're an accountant, yes, you need a veterinary doctor for that. If you're a CA, you need a veterinary doctor for that. If you're a doctor, you need a veterinary doctor for that.
So, Doctor, I think we lost you a little bit. We lost you. Maybe you can confirm your connection. Not yet. As Doctor confirms his connection and comes back, uh, uh, for those who have joined us, we have tried to questions, but should you have any question, type it on the chat. We'll be glad to answer them as they come. Doctor is coming back to give the final remarks. We have learned that
yeah.
there's everything for us in the insurance industry. Let's take advantage of it. Daktari, hope we can hear you now.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me
Hello,
now?
Daktari.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you can proceed. Yeah, you're back now.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
So as I said, there is a tremendous opportunity in the
Yes, yes.
insurance industry. Insurance industry is not only, and I would strongly recommend that you all the students who are there, please encourage your brothers, encourage your sisters, encourage your friends and associates to take up this insurance course, because the sky is the limit in terms of being an insurance industry. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Daktari. And thank you very much those who have joined us in this session of Lunch with the CEO. In a continuing session of Lunch with the CEO, we'll be taking 1 hour during our lunch to speak with the CEO to get to learn. We really want to appreciate Daktari for setting aside your time during this time to give us 1 hour of full discussion and to nurture the future industry. That is the main goal of this platform, to be able to get students, professionals, and those who are stuck in their careers to be able to understand how they can jumpstart their career by learning from experts and getting the right information. Mine is to thank you very much for joining us for this discussion and for giving us an opportunity to talk to you this afternoon. Refer your people to do insurance. Ask those who have not heard this one to just, if you are in a class, ask them to hear this, what Dr. has just asked to say. We'll be inviting Dr. Suresh very soon again to talk to students when opportunity arises. We'll also be talking to more and more professionals to be able to bring career into perspective. Thank you very much for joining us. Feel free to just subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is the #1 channel that gives you career information in Africa. Welcome and have a good afternoon. May God bless you. Finally, we'll have the closing remarks from Daktari. Daktari, you can give your closing remark in 1 minute.
No, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to interact with all the students over there. And should anybody have any questions or anything and all through LinkedIn, please do connect with me, and then I'll be happy to assist you where all possible. Wish you all the best. God bless you all. Thank you.